Hello and welcome to the space. My name is Shawn Claxton. I am pastor, founder, creator of the space, the place where we talk all things growth, change, and transformation. We do that natural, spiritual, mental, physical, and emotional. This is a place where we talk about evolving and growing and walking out what God has placed on the inside of us. It is the month of March, and I am glad that you are with me. We've been talking about movement that transpires, movement that allows us to grow, to change, evolve, God's movement so that we can have a footprint in the earth that will bring him glory. And on today, as we continue our series dealing with March, and March being the month of movement, we're going to be talking about, how God positions our posture in order for doors to open for us. He has to work on us from the inside out. So when the door is open, we will know how to go in and come out and do it with grace, be able to handle the weight, be able to handle the pressure that we will feel from the next stage of life, because we know with every stage comes additional warfare. With every stage of life comes new growth. And so we have to be postured from our heart to our emotions, to our feeling, to our mental capacity. We have to be in the right state of mind so that we can handle what we need to walk out in the earth. So we know that before God releases us to operate in various responsibilities, he gives us elevation. He begins to deal with us, and he deals with us in our posture, our spiritual posture, our mental posture, our natural posture. All of that determines how we carry out the assignment that he has placed in our hands. We have to make sure that we are walking in complete alignment with him each and every day. And even with the days that we feel we're not aligned, we have to go back and we have to get full instruction from the Father to make sure that we are doing it his way. We may not like the way, but it's still his way. And his way is what brings benefit. His way is what provides dividends. So we want to make sure that we are prepared to sustain the weight that comes with the call. So you ready? I'm glad you are. Let's go. Let's dive in. Let's see what we have prepared for us to eat on today. One thing we know is that God adjusts our heart before he expands us, before he lets us just walk out there. He doesn't just throw us out there and say, go, you're ready. He works on the matters of our heart. Before we become visible, God is working on us in the quiet place. He's working on our humility. He is working on our character. He prepares our heart to handle influence. He prepares our heart to carry the weight. And so that we will not be consumed. We will not be consumed. He loves us enough to hide us. He loves us enough to work on us. So if you're in a place where he is working on you, don't negate the work, because that means he is doing all the things that need to be done so that we can handle, we can stand when we become combated with the force that's going to come against us. He works on our heart. First Peter 5:6 says, humble yourself, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time. That means in the time and season when it's your time for you to step out and for you to know that it is time. That will be due season. That will be due time in our life, that we will continue to stand and to hear the voice of God working on us from the inside out. God's timing for elevation is often connected to our heart readiness. God's timing in elevation or for elevation deals with the readiness of our heart. So we have to constantly be seeking the Father, that he will keep our heart pure, that he will keep our heart from being bitter, that we will not be walking around with a bruised heart, with a broken heart, where people have injured us. We're still walking around with injury because we can't do ministry. We can't walk out the things that we need to walk out in clarity and purpose if we are walking around bruised, broken, angry, hurt, frustrated, disgusted. He has to work on our heart. One of the most important areas God develops us is the condition of our heart. Our heart represents our motives, it represents our intentions, it represents our character, it shows our humility. All of those things at one time or another, God is working on. And he will show you yourself. You will see in an area, oh, I could have been a little more compassionate there. Oh, I could have done that a little bit different. And if you don't see you are being worked on, where God is challenging you, I want to admonish you to go back, get back on your face, seek him some more, because this walk is an ever changing walk with us. We should ever be evolving and growing and seeking him, because there's always something we can come up a little higher in God. And so it's for us to make sure that we are constantly seeking the Father. While other people are focusing on skills and talent and visibility, God is focusing on our inner man. He's focusing on our heart to determine if we can carry the weight that he has placed in our hands. Can we handle the charge? So he's working from the inside out. And when he sees that we have grown up enough, when he sees that maturity has taken place, when he sees that we have died daily, and we are in the process of dying each day daily, he can entrust us with more responsibility. He can allow us to move and operate in the places and the things that he gives us. But we don't want to dare operate and or move until we know that we are walking in the spaces that he has equipped us to walk in. That is the place where he gets glory and honor out of our lives. When God prepares us, he is preparing us. When he is preparing us, he is doing just that. He is preparing us, whether it's in leadership, whether it's in ministry, whether it's in business, whether it's in relationship. He is doing a work down on the inside of us. He often works in the quiet places of our heart first. He works in the quiet places of our heart first. He comes in and he begins to excavate the things that we could have possibly been carrying for years, the things that we have suppressed, the things that we have buried. He says, we can't have that laying dormant. So I'm going to have to come in and I've got to break up the fallow ground. I've got to break that up so you can operate and you can move. Why? Because the Bible tells us that out of the abundance of the heart, our mouth will speak. And if we have not dealt with fear, anger, unforgiveness, resentment, disappointment, somewhere when we begin to talk, when we begin to try to carry out what has been placed in our hands, it will show up. So it's important for us to be healed. It's important for us to let God do the work on the inside so that when we come forth as pure gold. We want to make sure that he is glorified and he is honored each and every day with our life. So it's important that we stay on the potter's wheel while we are allowing him to make, mold, and mend us. This process may involve learning humility. It may involve us having to develop more patience. It may involve us understanding compassion on a deeper level. It may even begin to work on our integrity. And when all those things come together, it allows us to serve, and not just to serve, but it allows us to serve well. Because more than anything, we are servants. Many people want to be leaders. They want to be the people that are out front. They want to be the people that somebody is saying, can I do for you? Do you need? But we should be servants. We need a servant's heart. And when we have the heart of a servant, we can give to others, because Jesus, he came to serve. He told us, he said, I came to serve, not to be served. And we have to have that same posture, that we come to serve, we come to help, we come to give to other people. How can we be of service that will help them grow, that will help them change, that will help them evolve? It's important that we put ourselves out there. And the best way we can do that is to make sure that he is working on us from the inside out. These qualities create the foundation needed to handle the task or the charge. And that means it will influence without being prideful and without being self centered. Because we don't want to be prideful and we don't want to be self centered. And when we allow Him to do the work, it produces fruit that allows us to handle the task and the charge that is at hand, that has been placed in our hands. 1 Samuel 16 and 7 says, does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. This reminds us that readiness is not always measured by our outward performance, by the way it looks. People can look at us and say, oh, you're ready. Oh, you got it. Oh, it's time for you to go. But we have to be so in tune to know that just because we may be called, just because we may be equipped, just because we may know what the assignment is, does not always mean that we are ready. God is going to examine the posture of our heart, because our heart is going to determine how we treat people, how we see the assignment, how we respond to pressure, how we respond to stewardship, how we respond to how people treat us. That all depends on what is down on the inside of our heart. If we wanted to take an example, we could also often look at David. We can look at David's journey. We can look at how God developed the heart of David before He put him in a place of leadership. Before he became the king of Israel, he spent years being a shepherd. He spent years protecting the sheep. He spent years fighting off lions and tigers and bears. And we may not have had to fight lions, tigers, and bears in the physical sense, but we've had lions and tigers and bears come up in our life. We've had circumstances and situations that have come up against us, and we had to fight those things. Sometimes we did it with grace, and sometimes you and I both know we did not handle that situation well. And we know that when we don't handle situations well, what do? We usually have to go through that thing again. It may not be the exact same circumstance, but it will come back around in our life, which will give us another opportunity to grow from where we came from, so we can handle the situations that come up. We can handle them with grace. We can treat that person with compassion. We can go in with a servant's heart, and we're not trying to be the person in leadership, but we come to serve. And so God has to work on us from the inside out. David learned responsibility. He learned courage, and he learned dependence on God way before he became a king. And God wants to show us how to have dependence on Him before we are put in the driver's seat, before we are the leader that has to be out front, before we are somewhere in management, in business. We have to learn how. So when the pressure of life comes up against us, we don't crumble and we don't fall. And even when we become overwhelmed, and you may even feel like, I know I have, I'm out this piece. I don't want to do this anymore. After I do that, I'm somewhere like, God, give me the wisdom, give me knowledge, give me strength, give me understanding how to maneuver in this situation. Because at the end of the day, I need to bring glory to you. I want you to be glorified in me and through me. I don't want to just do it on my own. And therefore, I need you. So while David was out there fighting for the sheep, God was preparing him that eventually he would be the king, and he would be fighting for the people, the sheep. He would be fighting for them. He would have to go to battle, but he learned how to go to battle for the sheep that were out in the pasture first. And so we can't take lightly the assignments that we have right now, because that is going to determine how God is going to use us in the future. And if you feel you're on the potter's wheel, and if you feel you're still going through and you're trying to figure out, then that's the time for you to ask Him, God, what do you need me to learn? What do you need me to see so that I can grow from this and I can still continue to grow up in you, so that you can use me on a larger platform. So I can take this, something that may seem huge now, we'll look back later and look at it later on down the road, it won't feel like it is as big. Why? Because he has elevated us and he has taken us in to greener passages, um, pro- um, greener pastures, excuse me. These experiences build our courage and they build our trust in God. On Christ, the solid rock, we have to stand. All other ground is sinking sand. If we're not standing on him, then we're not standing. We're not standing. And so our strength and our courage must come from the Lord. Psalm 78 and 72. Psalm 78 and 72 says, and David shepherded them with integrity of heart, with skillful hands, he led them. Skillful hands. That means he had to go to the Father. He had to ask him what was his course of action because he knew that he couldn't lean on his own understanding. But in all of his ways, he had to acknowledge God so that the Lord would direct his path. And we have to do the same. We have to acknowledge him in all of our ways so that he directs our path. It is up to us to understand that while we are in the place of hiddenness, heart development season is happening. That means our heart is being developed in this season. Proverbs 4 and 23 says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows through it. Everything we do flows through the matters of our heart. If we are operating in leadership, for us to be a good leader, that is going to have to flow through our heart. To have good relationship with people has to flow through our heart. If we want to be successful, we have to make sure that we are allowing healthy relationships to flow through our heart. How are we going to steward influence if we have a wicked heart, if we have a broken heart, if we don't understand how God is working down on the inside and how he is creating us to have a clean heart? Our heart posture is important. God adjusts our thinking before expanding the possibilities for us to see with our natural eye. Sometimes the greatest limitation is not external, it is internal. I'll say that again. Sometimes our greatest expectation is not external, it's internal. We are fighting the battle within ourselves, and we have to make sure that we are paying attention and that we are staying covered by the blood so that we can continue to grow internally. And when we grow and overcome internal, it will flow over into those things that are outside and that are around us. God renews the mind so we can see beyond our old fears. We can see past disappointments or our limiting beliefs. He is working on us. So our mind renewal that we go to often, Romans 12 and 2, which tells us that we've got to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. When our mind is renewed, we get rid of bad thinking. We get rid of, as they used to say, stinking thinking. We get rid of that and we grow, we change, we evolve. So it's important for us to be transformed from the inside out. From the inside out. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, whatever you think in your mind, that's what you produce. So if you think that you can't, if you don't get rid of that thinking, you will never get to the place of where you can operate in the I can. And I can is with God. That's where all things are possible when we flow and we operate in him. Before God opens new doors, he begins changing the way that we think. Our thinking has to be transformed. Our thinking shapes how we interpret the opportunities, how we interpret the doors that he has placed right in front of us. How we respond to challenges comes into play when it's in our mind. How are we going to handle the challenge? When the challenge comes up, do you immediately go to a place of defeat, or do you go to a place of that I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me? That with God, nothing is impossible, that he is constantly making me for this assignment. And if he called me to it, he is definitely going to give me the grace to go through it. How do you speak to yourself when situations come up in our lives, and each one of us have situations that come up all the time. How do we handle it? Even if you first go to a place where you feel like you are overwhelmed, we should quickly, after feeling overwhelmed, say, God, I know you are going to lead me through this. I know that you are fighting this battle for me. Do we get on our face and do we seek him? Do we ask him, what are our next steps? Or do we automatically go into a place of defeat? And if you are the person that goes into a place of defeat, we come against that today in the name of Jesus. And we stand on the ground that with Christ, we can do all things, that he is our sure foundation. We know him to be a sure foundation, and that is the place in which we must stand. If our mind is still operating in a place of fear, past hurt, or limitation, our new opportunity cannot completely come forth because we're not operating in a place of freedom, in a place where we know that God does all things and he does it well. We can't operate in complete confidence in him because we're walking in defeat. And we were not meant to walk in defeat. We were not meant to walk in fear. We are meant to walk in abundance and wholeness. Many times, the barrier that is the door that is closed, it's because our thinking hasn't been expanded to recognize that we can walk through the door. And why can we walk through the door? Because we have God that is on our side. And if he saw fit to bring us to the door, he can certainly take us through the door. There is something on the other side. So we can't live in a place of limits. We serve a limitless God. And since we serve a limitless God, that means the only thing we have to do is rest in him and know that he will see us through. God understands that transformation must begin eternally. That's why he is doing the work on in us. So he finishes working on us inside. We come forth as pure gold. 12, it also tells us that we can't be conformed to the patterns of the world, but we've got to be transformed. So whatever the pattern of this world is, we know that that's not the place in which we live. We have to live in the place of which he has created for us. So renewing our minds means that we are learning to think differently. We are learning to operate differently. We are learning to walk differently. We are learning to grow differently. Why? Because God is constantly working down on the inside of us. When the Israelites approached the promised land, 12 spies went out. Only two, Joshua and Caleb, came back and said that we can conquer the land. We can take the land. Numbers 13 and 33 says, we seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes. They were talking about the spies. The spies saw themselves as grasshoppers. So how in the world could they see themselves overtaking the land if they saw themselves as grasshoppers? We've got to not see ourselves as grasshoppers, but see ourselves as more than conquerors. We are well able to take and conquer whatever the enemy may place in our view. With God, all things possible. With God, all things possible. With God, all things are possible. The land is available. And that means whatever is in front of you that you may have to tackle today, it is available if you would rest and know that God has you covered. He is there. Numbers 14 and 9 says, the Lord is with us. Do not be afraid of them. The Lord is with us. You don't have to be afraid. You can conquer it. Why? Because in him we live, we move, we have our being. And when we stand in him, he fortifies us. He strengthens us. And so it is possible that when we stand, we know that God is right there with us. In our everyday life, we have to make sure that we desire the wholeness of God. So I don't know what you may have up. Maybe you want to start a business. Maybe you're pursuing further education. Maybe you want to expand your family. Maybe you're looking to step into leadership. Maybe you want to share your gifts more widely. With God, all things are possible. but internally, let him do the work that he needs to do on the inside of you so that you can continue to stand and evolve in him. You must know that you are qualified. So if you are thinking that you are not qualified, you don't need to think that anymore, because you are qualified, because we operate in the fullness of the Godhead. Someone else, you may feel that someone else can do it better. Maybe they can, but they're not you. And if he called you to it, that means there are people that are waiting to hear your voice. There are people that are waiting to see you step into what he has called you to do. So stop looking at other people and look at the charge that he is giving you to do. Because when you walk in victory, you will begin to see the handprint of God on your life. These thoughts quickly prevent us from movement. They will paralyze us if we are looking at all the other outside entities. We've got to know that we have got to continue to stand and walk in the place that God has us so we can walk in victory. We can walk in victory. Spiritual insight, possibility that begins with our perception. We've got to change our eyesight so that we can see it the way that the Father sees it. When our thinking changes, our courage increases. When our thinking changes, our creativity expands. When our thinking changes, our faith is strengthened. When our thinking changes, opportunities that seemed impossible are now visible and they become possible. The mind opens up into the new direction of which God is leading us. As a person thinks in their heart, so is he, or so are they. Proverbs 23:7. So it's important that we continue to rest in what God is doing and how he is adjusting us so our discipleship can be expanded. And each one of us have disciples that are waiting for us to step in, whether it's in the marketplace, whether it's in our homes, whether it's in on a platform, whether it's preaching. We all have disciples that we have to disciple, and he is expanding us, each one of us, to make sure that we are growing and changing and evolving. Luke 16:10 says, whosoever is faithful with very little is also faithful with much. Are you faithful with the little that he has placed in your hand? In the month of March, while we are looking at movement, are you being faithful by what he is placing in your hand? Discipline shapes how we manage time, resources, responsibility, and commitment. Discipline shapes how we manage time, resources, responsibility, and commitment. What is your discipline looking like? What is your discipline looking like? When it comes to discipline, in order for us to grow, in order for us to be faithful, we have to show that we have discipline. We can't manage if we don't have discipline. And if you can't manage the small, you definitely won't be able to manage the big. You won't be able to manage when it becomes large. So make sure that we are stewarding well the small. And as we steward that well, God begins to expand us even the more. Before Joseph could rule in Egypt, he had to be able to manage his master's house. So when he was a leader, when he got to leadership, it wasn't hard. Why? Because he had managed what was in his master's house. And that's where God wants us to be. Genesis 39:4 says, Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. Potiphar put him in charge of his household. He was in charge of Potiphar's household. And because he stewarded that well, in spite of the things that came against him, it prepared him for leadership down the road. He may not have been a ruler then, but there was leadership that was going to come down the road. So every day, we've got to manage what is before us, and we've got to do it in a way that is pleasing to the